The Gulf Coast Growth Show is sponsored by Chevron Pasadena Refinery and is an extension of the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region, where our mission is to market and grow a vibrant regional economy.
Okay, hey guys, and welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. I'm your host, Jason Lee, joined by my co-host, Zeke Smith.
What's up, Jason?
Glad to have you today, and we are joined today by Carolann Peters, the CEO of the Bay Area Council on Drugs and Alcohol, otherwise known as BACODA.
That's correct.
Glad to have you today. It's such a pleasure having you join us.
Thank you.
And we're just really today, so again, for our audience, that if you're first time tuning in, our goal and our objective is to not only talk about the industrial things that are happening, the growth, the economics, the politics, all the stuff that makes up this region. But we also want to talk about the community, things that we're really, where people are getting back and making an impact and really kind of help bring to life where people can turn to and how much more involved than we are than just running business. It's not just about business and making money. It's also about people. And you're really going to bring that to life for us today. So I think we're going to talk about some things that I think are probably one of the more systemic issues that everybody's battling today. And at some level, everybody's been impacted by drugs, alcohol, abuse, any of those. So I don't know one person in my life who I've met that doesn't have somebody that's had that happen in their family.
That's true.
So we're going to talk about you guys and the work that you're doing. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're excited to hear a little bit of your story, but why don't you give us a quick background of yourself and then tell us a little bit about BACODA.
Okay, just quickly, as I've mentioned to many people, I've had a very wide variety of experiences. Out of college, I was in the medical field as a medical technology and microbiologist. Then I went on, jumped out into the business world. So another passion of mine was small businesses and learning about them and operations. So I was able to do that and franchise my operation nationwide. And then I went into business consulting and worked for the Galveston County Small Business Development Center until I got a calling, and my calling was here and BACODA, with BACODA, and that is my passion because of my involvement in the recovery arena and my son and my whole family, as a matter of fact. So that brought me to BACODA, and I was really interested in what they do. And one of the things that BACODA does, it's big on prevention. And a lot of our programs are directed right towards the youth.
Okay.
Because being in recovery for the many years that I've been in recovery, I've noticed that it's really hard. The relapse rate is very high. The statistics aren't good. But if we can reach people younger and start doing work, and that's what BACODA does, all the arms of that we reach out into the community. And one of the things that we do, we operate a lot of our programs are funded by Health and Human Services under their prevention grants that they do, the state. So we operate 5 community coalitions, one in Galveston County, Matagorda, Wharton County, Brazoria County, and Southeast Harris County. And with those, and people can join that. I'll talk about that in a second. But one of the things their mission is to stop and to help prevent and stop underage use of drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and especially marijuana. Today, those are their tasks, and they do environmental controls. They try to put forth some environmental strategies, so that they can help prevent this. And so the prevention is a big part. So BACODA itself, we're into education, prevention, intervention, and recovery. We do not run a rehab center. We do not do treatment. We do life recovery services. We offer counseling.
Okay.
And we do like we do assessments and referrals, but we have a counselor that will do sessions with people. And right now we're offering that. We're partnering with United Way and in some of that. And this is one that we really need support and growth with, so that we can provide more services, because there's so many people. We're in an epidemic of drugs. And so this counseling that we offer, especially in about 20 zip codes in Southeast Harris County.
Mhm.
We offer some free assessments and initial counseling in helping people to get into rehab. We have 3 youth works programs that are funded by the Health and Human Services, and we're going to we'll be in 11 school districts
Okay.
this year.
Great.
And they provide prevention services, and they use a evidence-based curricula to help, especially the at-risk kids that the schools deem that are at risk. So that's a program that's been near and dear to our heart, and we're in both elementary, middle schools, and high schools offering those programs.
Can't start early enough.
So we can't. And then because we didn't have the capacity to spread it out, we've even had other school districts. We have 2 school districts that reached out to us. So we custom made programs for them that we help them even find funds to support that in their school. And thank goodness, as we all know, that Texas Senate legislation just passed some laws for this, especially the fentanyl epidemic. This one pill can kill. If people want to go online to see what the DEA has to say about that, it is actually it's an alert right now. It's an emergency alert because the deaths are so high in Texas. Unfortunately,
Right.
was very, very high in this last year
We have
of deaths.
readily supply of stuff coming over from the.
And it's
Yeah,
coming
from
over.
the
It's being made
border. It's
across the
horrifying,
border,
right.
and they're using these opiates, these synthetic opiates that they get, and they are masking them as Adderall, opiates, and Xanax, or hydrocodone and Xanax, and they're putting fentanyl in them, and those are deadly. And now the state of Texas is
I think you
deemed
said
those.
before the show, 6 out of 10 pills.
6 out of 10
Okay.
pills. The DEA did research on those, and all the pills they confiscated, 6 out of 10 were deadly.
Wow.
So, in my book, that's called murder. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But the state of Texas, thank goodness, has just passed multiple laws. But one of their specific laws is that they've deemed this fentanyl as a drug, as a poison.
Very good.
That's a toxic. It's poison, and anyone that is caught selling or distributing it is going to. And if someone dies, they're going to be charged with murder.
Well, I think
Possibility of
that's
being charged with
a
murder.
very good lesson too, because they're for whatever, a drug dealer, maybe he doesn't even know that he's dealing fentanyl pills. But either way, he gets busted and it's found in your stuff that you're selling.
They don't.
Doesn't matter if you put the fentanyl in there or not.
It's-
You're liable. For
It's
murder.
not, but they
That's
are
great.
making these in just and they're not clean environments where they're making these pills, and they really resemble the fake pills resemble. So the kids today, especially our kids, they can go to a party and someone says, "Hey, try this," and that just happened not long ago with the mother that lost both of her college sons. Both sons were,
Oh my
and these were
gosh.
good kids. I mean, we all have done crazy things.
Right.
And this, and then, one of the things that the kids used to do was what we call Skittles. They would all bring whatever they could find at home or from grandma's cabinets or any place else. And they'd bring it to a party and they'd dump it in a bowl. And then they go around and play a game, and they take whatever. They could be taking blood pressure medicine. They could be taking sleeping pills.
crazy.
And then they go to the hospitals, the ERs, and they didn't know what they were taking and they had multiple drugs in them. So that's one of the things that our youth get into
Jeez
sometimes.
Louise. That's
And
scary.
these are not kids that are bad kids. These are kids. These are people like me.
Well, what's interesting is when I was growing up, you keep using the word bad kids, but I talk about this all the time with my testimony. I say, there was a populace, there was a group of kids, and I hate to admit it was one of them. So, but it's just the truth. So in that season of life, but you were segregated out, and then that group was the group who got a hold of the stuff and could get the stuff and had access to the stuff, and and the things were readily apparent, but they were known to be bad. And then nowadays, like my daughter goes to school, and it's like every other kid is vaping weed, or it's like accessible, like I've never seen it before. Or the pills are becoming such an epidemic. That's what she even says. This is not now, but I mean, as of last year, 7th, 8th grade public school, the amount of pills she said were being passed around.
Oh,
just
it's
schools,
phenomenal. It's
horrifying.
phenomenal. And what's really sad
And
is
to your point, it wasn't the bad kids.
no.
The
And back in
regular
my
kids,
era,
yeah.
there were the bad
Yeah.
bad, and I was one of those girls that liked the bad boys.
We all had long
so
hair and smoked reefer,
But
man.
yeah. So but we didn't have the dangers that we have today.
Right.
And you mentioned vaping. I tell you, the vaping is such an issue right now that our coalitions are working towards that, and we even do some things for parents and other people to show. It's called Hidden in Plain Sight, so that they can show how these kids. I mean, look, might be like this, and it's a vaping.
Oh wow.
There's all kinds, but we have reports now of kids as young as 7 years old that are vaping in our areas.
7?
Second graders. So those are the things that we target. We do have, in addition to these programs that we have, the Youth Works programs and the community coalitions that we have, we also have received a federal grant, mental health first aid trainings.
Yep.
And we offer that in the whole Southeast Harris. That was pretty designated for Southeast Harris County. And we got a 5-year grant there, and we've got an instructor that teaches. We've probably gotten a lot of officers, law enforcements that are mental health officers now. We've been doing training all over, everywhere, and going into
Well, that's
businesses.
something that I know is near and dear to my partner
Yes.
here. So maybe
Yeah.
we could,
Yeah. So that's
dive into that a little
something
deeper.
that's
Yeah, if I could.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I
please.
have
Yeah.
the mental health first aid certification as well.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, we're
Good.
talking about
Yeah.
it through our company and having some designated folks, and maybe even all of our safety professionals having
Yes,
that
absolutely.
designation. I think it's a great course. So, and we talked a little bit before the show, and you mentioned this word prevention services. You're not doing treatment per se, but I was, as you're talking and you're saying the ages and the prevention and things, I always want to go back, kind of back up and say, what's causing these children or adults or all the above to start these habits, right? And there's always something. There's a
There's
trauma,
always
there's
some-
a trigger,
it's a
there's a
trauma.
mental health issue. Like I come from a long line
History.
of very
Me
successful
too.
alcoholics, right?
Yeah,
And
me too.
and there's always something there. Whether it's work that triggered it, it's hard work, and your body's beaten down, or you're mentally stressed, or whatever. So, what all? I guess for the prevention side, you said counseling. So, are you offering some of that, some entry level things
Yes.
for folks to assess
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yes, we have what we call our life recovery services, and we now have launched a year ago. We launched our program called the Second Century Vision, which is a program which is a partnership with United Way Greater Houston, and in that program we have a licensed chemical dependent counselor
Great.
that provides that, and when he provides that too, he does the screenings. We do the intakes and the initial screenings,
Great.
and then do the assessments that are necessary, and then do the referrals. So if
Yeah.
they're dually diagnosed and have to have mental health services, and of course with my experience in the recovery world, most of us, almost everyone I know that's an alcoholic too, that goes into the substance use disorder, we've had some sort of traumatic experience.
No doubt.
But people are thinking like traumas of just being raped or being assaulted. That's not the case all the time.
That's right.
Harvey was a big instant. COVID,
I was about to say pandemics, being locked in your house. and being
well,
able
the
to work.
kids were the kids that already had some problems.
Mhm.
They're social anyway, so they have been isolated, and then they started self-medicating during all of
And I
all
do
of
think,
this.
I want to put this out there, but some parents medicated to keep kids calm,
Absolutely.
over medicated perhaps, right? Just to keep sanity
keep
for
the
themselves,
kids
right?
Right.
So
sanity
you-
themselves.
and
so
let's not
it's-
forget about personal trauma, right? You got lose a parent, divorce, you move.
You
I mean, there's
move.
little
There's
traumatic
little
events that are
traumatic
triggers.
events that
Yeah.
that are trigger all that, and the bullying, and
Mhm.
I mean, there's just all types of things. We have so many behavioral issues, but like you said, they're stemmed a lot of times from mental illness, and people don't like to recognize that even alcohol, substance use disorder. Stems from a mental obsession. So, I treat alcohol. I mean, I've learned that alcoholism is a trifold. It's first of all, it's a physical allergy that triggers a mental obsession. And it's also a spiritual malady. And spirituality is being about yourself. They're trying to find something. We're all trying to find something on the outside to change how we feel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the three-legged stool.
The old take the edge off, right?
And now we call it, addiction, because what I'd like to see in the future is people, and today and going forward, we still have a stigma in our communities about alcoholism. The stigma is, oh, that's just an addict. He's just an addict. He's just an alcoholic, and they think they're just low-class people or something. No, these are ministers' children. These are professionals' children. These are people that, so that they think it's a moral issue that somebody can just overcome it. It is a disease. It has been classified as a disease, and that compulsive disorder and that addiction to something is real.
Somebody showed up and said,
you
"Man, I've been
can't
diagnosed
stop.
with cancer."
You can't.
would be like, "Oh my gosh,
You
really?"
can't. No, you can't
One of those
stop.
people?
You can't. You can't
Well,
stop.
and think about this,
And-
right? If it's a disease, and it's the most accessible disease ever,
It is.
right?
It is.
You don't have access to cancer. Sometimes it happens, right?
Right.
But alcohol, you can go to the store right now.
Mhm.
And we talk about this issue in our industry a lot in construction and petrochem.
Yes.
It's rampant,
It's
right?
rampant.
Alcoholism,
It's rampant
opioid
everywhere.
abuse, and then certainly the mental health
Mhm.
issues. And so I think using the term mental illness sometimes has a stigma
Has
still.
a stigma.
This month, I would be remiss to not mention that September is our suicide prevention month.
Absolutely.
And you talked about the 6 in 10 or 7 in 10 pills are deadly. Well, maybe someone's
Mhm.
trying to do that, right?
Mhm.
Not accidentally kill themselves, but actually,
no, because
they're-
in
they
that
figure that out, and they can drink themselves to death, unintentional,
Exactly.
or take pills.
drinking, anything that you're doing to try to stop. And a lot of people die because they don't realize they don't have the boundaries set. And once you're into that, there's no stopping it. There's no stopping it unless you pass out or die. And so in the recovery world, people are becoming aware of that you can't, even myself in the recovery world, life was hard.
Sure.
And we have so many women today and men too that experience domestic violence and the coping mechanism. And that happened to me. I publicly say, that happened to me. And people say, well, why didn't you? You can't until you walk in someone else's shoes. You
Well,
can't
talk about
condemn.
That stigma word, especially
there
for
we
that
go.
for a while,
There
right?
we go
Yeah.
with the stigma. So yes, and so that's why BACODA it was such a passion for me when I got introduced to BACODA to come aboard to join this journey of helping, and especially we've got to save our children. They're our future.
Well, thank you for your work there. I think the more open doors with open arms we can have for folks struggling with this, the better we are. Because I think that, again, stigma word again, if you're struggling, you don't have to go walk into an old psych ward and get tied up and sit in a wheelchair and stare at the window, right? You have places that are welcoming and can talk to you and counsel you and refer you to the right places. So I think that's really important. So thank you for your work there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the more we champion the message, the better the opportunity is
here's
to normalize it.
Awareness, yeah.
And the reality is if you're going to, for lack of a better term, if things are going to become normalized, like legalization is on the forefront, there's all these different things that are normalized. Alcohol is normalized. It's normal.
It's a cultural
It's normal.
imperative in the United States.
And when you get off work,
parents.
it's a default mechanism. People are like, they can't wait to get off work to get home to get that drink.
Absolutely.
It's just like it's a default. And even growing up, it becomes a rite of passage for so many. So if all that's normal, we've got to start to normalize the fight against
Exactly.
it, right? The calling you for what it is, which is, hey, that's an addiction. Whether just because you're not getting up and the first thing you're doing is hitting a bottle to start your day.
Try some controlled drinking on that.
Yeah.
I went down that road, but what I want to mention when you said that was I just recently attended an all-day drug awareness conference at University of St. Thomas, where we had a lot of wonderful speakers. And one of the things that they were stressing, especially someone from one of the recovery areas, is that we have to, the whole community has to become involved. In recovery, it's very difficult because denial is so bad. parents don't want to get involved, and the family doesn't want to get involved. Oh, that might reflect on me, and the communities. But as you said, working in the industries, everyone is affected by anyone in your community.
Mm-hmm.
The whole community is affected, and that's where we really got to reach out with the education and the community efforts and getting. And one of the things that in Texas now that disturbed me is that I learned in this webinar is that a parent can't commit a child to a treatment center unless the child consents.
Oh, wow.
But a child can put themselves in a rehab without the parents' consent. So I think we have a lot of education left to do and a lot of prevention work that we want to do. And hopefully, as the leader of BACODA, I'm always looking for avenues to expand, because like right now I've got contracts that are going to end with the state this next year, the next September.
Okay.
Big majority of our contracts. So they'll be coming out because Texas did get a lot of money from the opiate settlement. They got like 30 something billion, but 1.9 billion was targeted towards prevention.
Great.
And so in the schools, they've got lots of new laws in the schools. It's hard to even for us to go into the schools because we have to compete with the TEA because they have to keep the kids focused on their core classes.
Correct.
But now we're just one of a whole bunch of people outside trying to bring information and services inside.
Heaven forbid you try to teach some children life skills,
Yeah.
Over algebra. I mean, shame on you, Miss Carolann, for trying to do that.
Yes, you can't. I'll teach my children morals, not you.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
So I don't want to run out of time.
Yeah.
Giving people an
Okay.
opportunity to understand some of the things you have coming up, and then also how they
Okay.
can get kind of
Yes.
plugged in.
Okay.
I don't want to do that.
Okay.
So let's all great stuff, and I think it's just a natural flow because it's important.
Yes, it is. And as you can tell, I'm very passionate.
Absolutely. But tell us a little bit about some things as far as any big news or events or things that you want to share.
Oh,
In
okay.
case people want to get plugged in.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I'm really excited about is that BACODA has been around for 50 years. And in this coming 2024, BACODA will be 50 years old.
Congratulations.
And I'm in the process of starting to build a committee to help us plan a celebration. I'd like to call it the 50th Jubilee. Just real quick, to not run out of time, BACODA was started 50 years ago in a committee at the Clear Lake Chamber of Commerce. And there were a lot of JCs on that committee, and there was such a high suicide rate in the communities and a lot of drugs and alcohol problems starting to really affect the communities. So they're the ones that went and formed BACODA and also got it, got a nonprofit set up. And it started out as a crisis hotline. And then all the other things got added to it as it evolved. And for years, BACODA had the state funds for the state recovery, state counseling funds, but we lost those to, they put it under mental health services and not direct behavioral.
Understood.
So anyway, so that's the big thing with BACODA right now that I'm targeting on.
Okay.
But one of the other things I'm targeted with is that I'd like to build a stronger, we have 7 board members now and 2 that are probably going to drop off, but I have 8 positions available for the board. And I really would like to get people that can connect and have a passion about this to join the board. So if anyone's ever interested or you know of someone, direct them to us and we can tell them. A lot of people don't want, I don't want to be associated with, it's not a sexy organization.
Right.
But we do need funds. We need to do some fundraising. We need to bring some other things so I can develop some other programs that are not, my hands are handcuffed with some of the programs that we get under state and federal funding.
Understood.
Because I'm totally restricted and I can't even utilize my employees for anything else. So,
Okay.
so those are some things that I'm really interested in. And I just want to make note that we would love for the community, people in the industry to get involved with our community coalitions and help them.
Well, let's do this. I wanted to make sure that we got to that because I felt like that was probably
Yes.
one of the more important messages we need to relay is not only what the issue is and how
Yes.
important it is, but how do you get involved?
How do you get
And
involved?
there's no stigma behind it. We just got to get plugged in. So as we wrap up the show, let's make sure we communicate how do people get in contact with you if they're interested in getting plugged in
okay.
and wanting to be a part of that. What's the best way to reach
The
you?
best way to do that is we have a 1-800 number. If you go to www.BACODA.org, that is our website, and it explains all of our programs and tells you how to get in touch with us.
Great.
Fantastic.
And all of that. So that would be the best way.
Awesome. Well, Carolann,
Mhm.
you've been great on the show today. I think it's a very important topic, one that's near and dear to everybody,
Yes.
especially if you have children. You need to make sure that
Yes.
you're getting the message out. And again, so thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And for our audience, if you know of anybody who this needs to hear this episode, or perhaps you are called to action on this episode, we're always going to encourage you to take that action. She just shared how to get a hold of us. If for some reason you want to get plugged in, maybe you just don't know where to start, go to the website, get plugged in. And if you always want to give us feedback, please go to Zeke and myself. Best way to reach us is through LinkedIn. And again, we're so grateful to have you today. A great topic and an important topic. And so to your, like you mentioned earlier, Suicide Prevention Month, just make sure we're spreading the love there, getting that message out and plug it into your communities and figure out a way to get for us to help fight the good fight.
Yeah.
So
Congrats on your 35 years.
Oh, yeah,
of
35
recovery.
years.
Yeah.
And congrats on turning 50 the same year your organization is.
Yes,
That's pretty amazing.
that is
Yeah.
isn't
There you
that
go. There you go.
timing?
I know.
It's
Not
all in
perfect.
God's time.
Yes, it is.
35 years of recovery. Unbelievable.
Yes.
So thank you guys. We're always going to continue to put out great content and try to keep you informed of the great things happening in our region. This is one of them. And Carolann's a great resource for us. And so we want to thank you for that. And you guys tune in next week.
Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to go to the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region website and subscribe to our channels. And let's pay it forward by sharing the good news of what's happening in our region by passing this episode to somebody you know.